So what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and this right here is a site that many people have not seen on this channel for a while. This is actually a Xbox 360 Slim, as you can see, that has been taken apart and everything because this system has been flashed at this point in time. I can confidently continue with this tutorial knowing that this system is now working. Now, I'm going to be showing you all how you can flash the MXIC version of the Xbox 360 Slim drives. This is for the 16D4S lite-on drive. If you have a 16D5S, this is not for you. Now, in case you don't know, there are two types of drives. There's the WinBond drive, and there is the MXIC drive. The way you can tell the difference is you actually have to take the drive itself out, open it up, and look at the back of the PCB, and there's a chip there. On the bottom number, there's a serial number, and if it starts with an 05, that is a WinBond. I have a tutorial for that, for anyone asking. If it starts with an 03, it is a MXIC, which is easier to do, but you have to use a different method to unlock and flash the drive, which we are going to be doing right here. So one big thing is a lot of people ask, can they use it for another drive, anything like that? No. This tutorial is only for the MXIC variant of the 1604 lite-on drives. If you have anything else, you're going to have to look that up. I'm not covering 16D5S because you have to essentially reset glitch the console, and then you have to get your unlocked PCB and flash that and all that, and we're not going to be doing that. That's a whole big tutorial right there. That's really not needed for this, honestly. But if you have the WinBond variant, it's available. Or if you have a fat system, I also have another tutorial showcasing how to flash all fat systems. Now, there are different ways of doing this. I'm going to be using Windows 7 just for your information there. But first off, I'm going to be showing you all my method, but there are cheaper ways and different ways of doing it. So first off, honestly, I would almost really recommend using a power supply of some kind. I'm using the Executor CK3 Lite, and this essentially, I just have this external power supply right here. And this right here allows me to power the drive without using the Xbox. Reason why I really recommend this, especially for Slims, is because there are a few steps in the process where you have to quickly unplug and plug the drive back in within a second. And with a Slim, it's nearly impossible to do that, to navigate back there. So with this, if that stays on, with this, literally, if I need to turn the drive off and on, that's all I do. That is literally all I do right there. That's all I need to do. So I'd really recommend picking up a power supply like that if you can. Now this right here, you don't have to use a USB device. If you have a SATA to USB adapter, like a cheap one you get off eBay or something, those don't work with the Slim. They just don't work. Just trust me on it, they do not work. This right here is the X360 USB Pro, and I'm using the special Jungle Edition if that matters. The X360 USB V2 as well is also a really good one, and that one is essentially these two combined in one. You can find them on local mod sites and everything. You just need to look around for them because they're kind of out of print now, so they're a bit harder to get. The reason why I do this is because it is a lot easier to flash through USB, and my motherboard is actually not compatible with flashing drives directly through SATA. I've tried it multiple times. I get a ton of errors. It was just easier to do this. So you don't have to use USB. You can also just hook it up directly to your SATA port on your motherboard. However, the big difference is you need to hook it up to SATA port 0. Just SATA port 0, that is the first SATA port on there. And if you have a prefabricated computer, that's normally where the hard drive comes in from there. Also with this, you're also going to need, for the MXIC, I would recommend using an X-Acto knife. We're going to need that to cut out the trace. And I am also here using the Sputnik360 Probe. This is going to be to unlock the drive itself. So these two are going to be important. Now to unlock, there are several other ways of doing it that you can find in the Team Jungle, JungleFlasher documentation PDF file. But I prefer this because it's simple and it's easy to do. This one, the Sputnik360 SPUTNIK, you can find online as well too. You just have to do a little bit of digging and you can find that. Aside from that, the stuff that is not pictured here, aside from the 360, I also recommend using some solder, having a soldering iron and everything, because there is a trace we're going to have to cut in the PCB itself, and I highly recommend fixing up that trace. I actually had a drive that did not work until I cut the trace when I was done flashing it, so I would recommend doing that. Now, to get underway here, we're going to have to do the software setup as well too. Now I'm going to cut away to an older video right here because the software setup is the exact same. The links I used in this video, if I don't cut them out, are going to be dead because JungleFlasher.net does not work anymore. It's down. But I'm going to have links down below in the description. But the setup for JungleFlasher is the exact same. So just download the latest JungleFlasher, download the firmware, go ahead, get this all hooked up at your computer and everything, and you should be good to go. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue with this tutorial. Alright everyone, so this is what you're going to need to do. So first off, now that we have all the hardware underway, we're going to want to get the software underway. So first you want to come over here to jungleflasher.net and you want to come over to downloads, and we're going to be downloading JungleFlasher. This is the best program that you can use for flashing, honestly. But right now the latest build is 0.1.94 beta 320. You're going to just want to download that and you should be good to go. Next we need the firmware because JungleFlasher does not come combined with any firmware. So I'm going to have all the download links for these down below. Just check the links in the description. But we're going to want Light Touch 3 right here. So you're going to want to just pull it off here. Next, we're also going to want Light Touch 3 for Hitachi drives if you're doing that. And finally, if you are on Windows 7 or a 64-bit operating system, I'm currently using Windows 7 64-bit Professional. You're going to want to use Driver Signature Enforcement Overrider if you are doing it through direct motherboard hookups. If you're using the X360 USB Pro like I am, you will not need this. So now that you have everything downloaded, I'm going to show you all what to do. Alright, so first off, right here, I have all these downloaded. So we're going to want to go ahead, extract our RAR file for JungleFlasher, and just extract everything. So extract Light Touch 3 for Hitachi, and then extract Latest iExtreme. Now what you want to do is you want to come over to Latest iExtreme, go into firmware right here, and grab everything, and I'm just going to completely cut it and move it out, and then go over to JungleFlasher, firmware, and place it in there as it says place firmware here. Next, you want to do the same thing with your Hitachi firmware. So you want to come over here, grab everything, so just cut it, and then go back to JungleFlasher, firmware, and paste it in there. So now you should have every variant of the firmware on hand, and you should be good to go. Second, you want to come over to libusb, copy over this DLL file, this is all in JungleFlasher, and paste it in the root right next to jungleflasher.exe. Second, you want to do the same thing with Portio. You're going to have Portio 32 and Portio 64. You want to copy both of these and paste them out here. These are going to be also if you are doing the direct motherboard hookup, as I said. Once you have all of these, you should be able to run JungleFlasher like so, and you should be good to go. Now, sometimes it takes a little bit to come on, but right here, it's giving me this error because I haven't disabled my driver signature enforcement overrider, or I haven't enabled it, whatever you want to call it, but I'm using USB for this, so this is irrelevant for me. So I really don't care too much, okay? Yeah, it likes to bring up some errors sometimes. That's because I have nothing hooked up right now on my computer. But as you can see, this is going to be JungleFlasher right here. I will show you all how to use everything, but you should be good to go on this. If it runs, you should be okay. Now, there's going to be two things I need to mention. I'll just exit out of there. Number one, if you're flashing your Xbox right now, go ahead and update your system update to the latest console update available, or at least something higher, like something in the 15,000 series. Right now, the way you can check is you can just go into your system settings and you could check from there and see what kernel version you're running. But at the moment, right now, May 18th, when I'm recording this, the latest kernel available is 16.203. So you want to update to something like that and you should be good to go, because at one point Microsoft ended up reflashing a bunch of drives and they did a whole mess of things with the firmware. So just go ahead and be on my level with this and we'll be okay. Second, before we start this up, if you are using 64-bit OS, this is what you want to do. You want to download this program, as I said, Driver Signature Enforcement Overrider version 1.3b, and you want to double click this exe, run it. And I'm not going to do it here just because I really don't need it. But right here, you want to hit next, you want to hit yes, and then you want to hit enable test mode. And then from here, you're going to hit next. And from that, you want to restart your computer, and when you restart your computer, in the corners, it's going to say that Windows 7 is running in test mode, and it might take a bit longer to boot up out of BIOS. However, if it says that you're in test mode, that means that you are able to flash a drive through Windows 7 64-bit native, and you should be good to go. Now, unfortunately, the source video here did mess up during capture, so I apologize for that, but I'm still going to try and get through this part here, because this seems like the only corrupted part. Anyways, now that you have your drive fired up and everything, and JungleFlasher open, what you want to do is go to DVD key 32, hit Slim key, and when it asks if you want to unlock, hit No, and just wait. This is going to go ahead and generate all the drive key data that you need, and this right here is the most important part of the tutorial. Reason being is that if your key ends up getting lost in any way and you brick your drive, you're going to have to reset glitch your whole system to get the drive back. Now, if everything goes according to plan here, but something happens to the drive, but you still have that key, you can always flash it over to a different drive or a different board, but you need to have this key on hand. So this is the easiest, but this is the most simple part. Now, what happens when you have everything pop up right here with your key.bin and all the other files? There's going to be about maybe 3 or 4 files. You want to go ahead, put them in an important folder somewhere, and just save all the files that start popping up. If it asks you to auto-load firmware, go ahead, hit yes, and then hit save to file, and go ahead and save that custom firmware. It's not super important, this last part, but you can still go ahead and do it anyways. Now what you want to do is go ahead, power off your drive, disconnect it, and we're going to now open up the whole thing. Now what you want to do once you have your drive completely disconnected, opened up, and placed upside down, you want to disconnect all 3 of the ribbons that you see. Go ahead and keep the 5 soldered wires onto the actual board. Do not disconnect them from the drive itself. And there's also going to be a small Phillips head screwdriver at the top of the drive PCB. Make sure that you unscrew that and then use the 2 nubs to move the PCB out of place and just flip it upside down. Now, right here, believe it or not, you're going to have the PCB board just flip upside down like I have on the bottom half of my disk drive, as you can see right here, but you actually want to cause some damage to it. What we're going to be doing using this method in order to unlock the board itself is you need to actually cut a trace on the PCB board. So you do this by taking the area that I'm pointing out right here that I pointed out at one point, and you want to use your X-Acto knife and just gently take off the green coating of the PCB just so you can see the actual bare metal underneath this. It seems like it's really intimidating, and it kind of is, you know, as a first-time user if you've never done this before, but trust me, this is what you want to do. Now, I'd recommend also just be careful and clean it as well if you need to, so I'm just using some rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip to clean up the area and just make sure that part is nice and exposed. Now, what you want to do here, once you have that part exposed well enough, like I show in a picture and all that, what you want to do is just go ahead and go straight down on that point and cut the trace itself. Now, I actually had to go back and recut this trace because what happened was the first time I was actually too gentle and the drive would not unlock. So I had to go in and cut an even deeper trace. Now, you don't want to just completely go at it. You want to be really gentle with it and everything. I'm trying to kind of show right here, but my finger's kind of obstructing the view and all that. But you want to cut deep enough where, you know, you cut it off and almost, it's easier when you actually see it. You almost want to see, you know, some green reoccurring again. Now, you don't want to completely drill into the board or anything like that, but you do want to make sure the trace is cut. So my thing would be just go gentle at it and make sure it is cut, but if it's still not unlocking when you get to the unlocking process, you might have to go back to the drawing board and cut a little bit deeper, because when you do unlock it and you probe the point that you need to, it should just take about a second or two to do. Now, the device we're using to probe is the Sputnik360 from Team Executor, and essentially this is just a little device that has a needle on the end of it with various different resistors. It's recommended to use the 10 ohm resistor, which I'm flipping on and off right there, but what you're going to want to do is when you need to go ahead and probe the point while in JungleFlasher, you're just going to want to turn on the 10 ohm resistor and then hit the point that is specified right here. Now what you want to do when you're in JungleFlasher at the specified point that I tell you, you want to go ahead and just probe it like that. You don't need to turn off the drive or anything like that, but you want to go ahead and turn on the 10 ohm resistor and then probe it. What I normally do is turn on the 10 ohm resistor. If that doesn't work, I turn it off, turn on the 15 ohm resistor. If that still does not work, I normally just go back and recut the trace if need be. Now, one big word of advice is we're about to hook this thing back up, but your PCB is upside down, so you're going to have to take your power cable and make sure it is keyed out properly so the two notches on top match the parts that are on the PCB itself. If you put this in incorrectly, you will burn up your PCB. Alright, now what you want to do when you're back in JungleFlasher, you want to go to the MTK Flash 32 tab, select Slim, that's very important, and then do intro/device ID. That is going to put the drive into vendor mode. After that, be careful and get ready with your Sputnik. We're going to need to unlock the drive. Alright, now what you want to do when you're in MTK Flash and you have all that, you want to go ahead and hit the 0x8C button, and when asked to send a unlock request, you want to go ahead and say yes. Now what you want to do at this point is you want to go ahead and touch your 10 ohm resistor, the Sputnik with the 10 ohm resistor enabled, to the circular point that has been pointed out on your PCB, and if you do this correctly, it should give you a few beeps and you should have a SPI status of 0x00. That means that your board is now unlocked. That's very important. If it's not working, as I said, go ahead, take the probe off, change it to 15 ohms. If you want to, even try 20 ohms. Only try one of them at a time each time. But if it's not working, you're going to have to disconnect it, recut the trace a little deeper, and try again. Now, once you're ready, what you want to do is go ahead and hit the read button. This is going to take quite a while. What's going to happen is it's going to go ahead and pull your drive key and just go ahead and save any changes that are going to happen. Now, you're going to get some things with JungleFlasher, like it's going to keep looking like it's frozen or it's not responding. Just let it do its thing. This is going to take a few minutes, and you're going to have to do this a few times. Now, once you're done saving all of your files from the dumped drive, if it asks you to auto-load Light Touch Plus, go ahead, hit yes, and then save your file. As I said, I'm sorry about the glitchiness with this video, but something happened with the recording here. Now, once you have your custom firmware saved, you want to go back over to MTK Flash 32, and what you're going to do is go ahead, hit intro/device ID, and if it asks you to restart, you want to turn off the drive and turn it back on really quickly within 1 second. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write over our custom firmware. So hit write and let it do its thing for another few minutes. Now finally, the last thing you want to do, you want to relock the drive. What you want to do is hit intro, hit yes to resend the command, and restart your drive yet again to put it in vendor mode for the final time. What you're going to do is go ahead, hit the 0x00 button. Now be sure you want to unlock the drive. You want to continue with this, but go ahead, hit OK. Once you hit OK, that 0x00 will turn to 0x8C, and go ahead, hit outro/ATA reset twice. Hit it once, and then once it's done doing its thing, hit it a second time just to make sure it reset properly. And once that's done, congratulations, you now have a flashed MXIC DG-16D4S drive for your Xbox 360 Slim. Now before you completely close everything up, go ahead, power off your drive, disconnect it, and take it over to a place where you have a soldering iron and some solder. What we're going to do is repair that trace before we put it in our Xbox. Now just to make sure this is a nice clean point, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and clean up the point and the area surrounding it really well with some rubbing alcohol or some isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip. What I'm also going to do here is I use liquid flux to help out my solder just to make everything easier and cleaner and everything. I'm just going to take a little bit of that, glomp it onto my Q-tip, and then go ahead and put it on the point that we're going to be repairing. Just go ahead, glob it on the trace. If you have it, it will make it nice and easy. Go ahead and just do this and prepare it while your soldering iron is heating up. Now what you want to do is just go ahead, touch your solder and your soldering iron to the point gently and solder the 2 points together because it will act like 2 points. You just want to form them into one and you'll be good to go with this repaired trace. Anyways, that is all there is to this tutorial, so I hope this helped you all out. I hope you now have successfully flashed your drive, and several people might be asking, do I have to repair the trace? Here's the thing, you don't have to. I've seen a lot of people who have not repaired their traces, but this is something I do because the only other time I did one of these drives, it did not work until I repaired the trace, and after that, it worked just fine. But anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone. Hope this tutorial helped some of you all out.